friends, it's Grace and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about a little review of my 2023 reading goals and how I did on them, and then we're going to talk about my 2024 reading goals. And I'm really excited to have these and be talking about the new year because a new reading year is always really exciting. It feels like it's filled with so many possibilities. So let's just get right into this list. The very first goal on the list is the simplest one, and that is simply the number of books that I want to set for myself to read in a year. So in the year of 2023, that was 70 books, and that has been my goal for the last 2 years running. I have hit it both years, and I am going to keep and continue with that 70 book threshold heading into 2024 as well. And as I expressed in last year's goals video, 70 books just feels like a number that is high enough that I can tell that I'm kind of like striving to reach it. It means that I've been enjoying the books that I'm reading because I've been getting through them fairly quickly. It's an average of like about 6 books per month, which sounds about right for me. And it also is just like not so high that I'm going to be like super stressed out trying to reach it. So for me, it's that happy medium. And if I surpass it, then that's great. And then the kind of bonus add-on for this goal this year that I want to do for 2024 is I actually want to add the fact that I would like to hit 30,000 pages read, because for the past 3 years running, my average book length has been sort of in the mid 400 page range, and that equates to like if I read around 70 books or somewhere between 70 and 80, that seems to be between 30,000 and like 35,000 pages read. So if, for example, I read a lot of shorter books and I read like way more than 70 and I blow by that, if I read like really, really short books, I'm not going to hit my page goal. Like pages in a way are a lot more representative. So like I said, I feel like 30,000 pages is also a reasonable goal just because I know I have hit that the past 3 years running, and I feel like that would be nice to move forward with. The second goal that I had on my 2023 list that I am going to carry forward into 2024 is to read one non-sci-fi fantasy book every month. And so in 2023, I was successful at this in 10 out of 12 months. Now, if you averaged the whole year, I am at more than 12 non-sci-fi fantasy books, but there were 2 months where I didn't read any. I only read fantasy. So I was pretty, like, this is pretty good in terms of like only 2 months where I didn't do it. I'm pretty happy with that, but I want to carry this goal forward because as always, as a reader, I gravitate towards SFF, mostly fantasy really, not so much science fiction, but it's important to me to have that balance and have that variety in genres, and I do have a lot of other genres on my shelves that I want to pick up. I've been slipping in more like horror, thriller, mysteries lately, and I also have romance books that I want to read, and so it's important to me to be mindful of the fact that I'm kind of giving all of those genres my attention because I know that I'm going to like the books. The third goal that I had on my 2023 goals list was to read 5 indie or self-pub books this year. And so I didn't achieve this one. I only read 2, which is a disappointment for me because I really would like to read more of them. But the version of this goal that I'm going to move into 2024 with is sort of the same, but it's really just a little bit more specific because I am participating in Mel's takeover of Cassidy's version of like reading SpiffBo finalists. So Mel from Melanie Reads is organizing this for a bunch of us to read the SpiffBo 9 finalists and rate them and review them. And so my specific goal going into 2024 is to have finished and reviewed all of these finalists on the channel. And so this means, like, it incorporates the other goal because it means that I'm going to have read at least 5, like more than 5, indie and self-pub books, which is great. And so to go above and beyond that, I want to make sure that I'm reviewing all of them on the channel as well. Also, I will of course have Mel's channel linked in the description below. If you don't follow her already, her channel is awesome and you should definitely check her out. The fourth goal that I had on my list for 2023 didn't exactly have a number attached to it, but the goal was to listen to non-sci-fi fantasy books using audiobooks. And so this was kind of just a goal where I wanted to continue listening to audiobooks because I like them, and I thought that a good way to utilize that format would be to combine it kind of with the non-SFF books that I am like reading. And so those are kind of easily found sometimes on the Libby app, and that's a great resource for me, and that's like where I get my audiobooks. And so this year I've listened to 5 audiobooks, and they weren't like exclusively non-fantasy, but that's okay. And taking this goal into 2024, I feel like I agree with the spirit of it, in that I think that using audiobooks for me is a really good way to read my non-fantasy picks, but I don't need it to be specifically that. Like, I don't mind if I listen to some fantasy on audio, especially if it's either like a reread or like a lighter fantasy that doesn't need so much paying attention or like brain power. Like, fantasy that doesn't have as much intricate world building is probably totally fine for me to listen to on audio. And for this, it's kind of just like a goal to continue listening to audiobooks, and I thought that a good number might be 6 audiobooks, because I definitely think that I can handle like an average of one every 2 months, and that gives me the opportunity to balance it with like listening to music, because sometimes I find that my audiobooks will fall by the wayside if I'm, say, like commuting or going for a walk, and I would just rather listen to music rather than listening to an audiobook. And sometimes when that happens, I end up just like not starting an audiobook that I have checked out from the library. So hopefully we can find a balance here. The 5th goal that I had on the list was specifically a 2023 goal, and that's because it was to participate in the A Song of Ice and Fire read-along to completion. And so this I actually did not achieve because I stopped after A Storm of Swords. I ended up kind of having this mental block when I started reading A Feast for Crows, where in the back of my mind, knowing that there are a lot of storylines that get opened in that book that don't currently have like a resolution or a completion, I ended up, honestly, I just had a mental block while I was reading that book, so I ended up putting it down. So I read the first 3, and they were just as good as I remembered them, but I just couldn't bring myself to read all 5 at the moment. When I first read Game of Thrones, it was in around like 2012-ish, and so it had not been too long actually since A Dance with Dragons came out, and we were still well short of like when Winds of Winter was supposed to come out, and so I didn't have that in my head because like the situation was not the same as what it is now. But suffice it to say, I did not achieve this goal. I did participate in the read-along, but my goal was to completion, and that part I was not successful. The 6th goal, though, was also a 2023 specific one, and this one is one that was successful for me. So the goal was to kind of like see through for the entire year the Reading a Booktuber's Favorite Books video series that I launched this year. So this one, it was a success for me. The idea was, if you haven't seen these videos on my channel throughout the year, that I asked a bunch of my friends, like a bunch of my favorite people on the platform, to recommend me some of their favorite books. And then every month I would pick one out of the jar. I would vlog my experience. I would do a review. I would get them to jump in on the video with me and tell like me and you guys why they recommended this book to me and like why they recommended it to the audience as well. And then I would put all that together in a video and do that every month. And so the vast majority of these books really were wins for me, and even the ones that I didn't love, I still liked. There was one DNF, but it was more of a DNF because I didn't have the mental capacity at that time, and I'm sure I will come back to that book later. And then I'm currently reading the December selection, and so there will be another video to cap off the year, to cap off that video series, and I definitely think it can be called a success. And I'm especially so grateful for all of the people who recommended me books and participated, and I'm so glad that it worked out as well as it did. The 7th goal that I had on my 2023 goals list was honestly extremely vague, because it was just that I wanted to tackle my physical TBR. And while that is a valiant and noble goal, and I still agree with my past self on that, I didn't put like any numbers or criteria on this at all. So looking back, I think I did a decent job of reading a lot of books that were on my shelves this year, but like it's hard to call it a success or not, like without having any criteria for that. So what I thought I would do going into 2024 was that I would take the results of my bookshelf survey that I did recently and use that to formulate a goal. So in case you weren't aware or you didn't see, I did post a video somewhat recently that was titled like how many of my 450 plus books have I actually read? And the number that we came out of that video with after going through all of my shelves was around 55% that I have read. And so this, I think, is probably going to be one of the more difficult goals for me to reach, but I want to set the number at 60%. I would be extremely pleased if I came out of 2024, did another one of those surveys, and discovered that I had read 60% of the books on my shelves. I think that would be great. So that's what we're going to set the number at. Like I said, probably going to be tough, but it's a goal. Now, the last goal to reflect back on from last year before we get to my one new goal is that I had said I wanted to post at least one video per week this year. And so I think that if you averaged the whole year, I probably succeeded. I think I probably posted 52 videos. I'm not entirely sure, but I definitely know that like if you go week by week, I didn't achieve this because I had a bit of a hiatus in August and September when I went to the UK to visit Ben, and then he came back here with me and we spent like, it was really, really awesome and amazing how long we got to spend together during that time. But I wasn't really making videos for a while there. So that was okay with me because it was just like, it was a bit of a break. It was much needed for me. And I came back more motivated to make more videos. So this one, it had its ups and downs throughout the year. So I don't know if you can call that a success or not, but I also I'm not gonna call it a failure because in those weeks when I wasn't making videos, it was a conscious choice that I had made that I thought was just best for me during that time. And it gave me more time to actually read. Because what am I going to make videos about if I'm not having any time to read? Now, the very final goal on this list is a lot more of a simpler one, and it is just that I want to read at least 3 nonfiction books in 2024. And the reason that I've chosen nonfiction to focus on here is because I think it's one of my most neglected genres, and I have been kind of slowly collecting some nonfiction books in my nonfiction shelf that I'm really excited for and I'm really looking forward to. And I think that nonfiction is it's the genre that I gravitate towards the least. And so I need to do like the most work to remind myself of those books that I really want to read, because I do want to read them. You know what I mean? It's just not my instinct to grab for them immediately. So I think that 3 is a perfectly reasonable number. I really should be able to do that. And that really is it. That is the last goal that I want to talk about with you. So I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments on my goals list. And I would also love to hear what some of your goals are too. I love seeing how other people's reading if you want to tell me how your reading in 2023 has gone or your goals for 2024, either one, please chat with me about it. I would love to hear it. And yeah, with that said, please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you'd like to see more from me. As always, I'll have my Discord with Ben and my socials linked in the description if you're interested in any of that stuff. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye!